Well, let's take a look at quiz week number 2. I hope this one went well for you too. Let's take a look. Question number 1. A sentence is a group of words that can be changed to a yes or no question. Absolutely true. Every affirmative sentence contains an X word. That's false. We talked about that last week. Several X words tie with the no S form. That's absolutely false. The no S form doesn't tie with X words at all. Question number 4. Example number 1. Joanne and Kim traveled to Mexico City. Okay, let's take a look and we'll analyze the sentence so that we'll be able, to answer questions about it. There are no shifters. I don't see the X word, but I see the verb is traveled. I know that's past, so the X word is did. Did Joanne and Kim travel to Mexico City? Joanne and Kim did not travel to Mexico City. Joanne and Kim is between the X word places. That's the subject. There's no shifter, so everything to the end is the predicate. Now, are there any ties? The answer is yes. There's always at least one tie. In this sentence, traveled ties with the past. Okay, I'm trying my best to write this so you can read it. That's not too bad. Okay, so there's one tie to the past, traveled. Okay, let's answer our questions. Sentence number 1 contains one N shifter. False. Example number 1 contains two ties. False. Example number 1 can be written in two other forms. Definitely true. We can always make it negative. Joanne and Kim did not travel to Mexico City. We can always make it a yes or no question. Did Joanne and Kim travel to Mexico City? Question number 7. Example number 1 contains the past form. That's absolutely right. I forgot to write this down. But the verb form in example number 1 is the past form. Okay, I'll do the whole thing. Form. Okay, that's fairly legible. So example number 1 contains the past form. True. Example number 1 contains a regular verb. That's absolutely true. Regular verbs form their past and DTN forms by adding ed, just like traveled. Example number 1 contains two X word places. Yes, it does. All sentences contain two X word places. Irregular verbs have different ties than regular verbs. That's completely false. All verb forms have the same ties, although some verb forms are irregular, and that only means they don't form the past forms with ed or the DTN form with ed. They have changes in spelling or pronunciation, or there's no change even in fact too. Question number 11. Irregular verbs have different endings than regular verbs. That's true. Question number 12. Margaret was busy yesterday in the evening. Let's take a look and we'll see first what kind of a sentence we're looking at. Are there any shifters? Yes. In the evening, Margaret was busy yesterday. Yesterday, Margaret was busy in the evening. I've got two shifters. The X word is was. I move it in front of Margaret to make a question. Was Margaret busy yesterday? The subject is between the two X word places, and everything from the subject to the end shifter or end of the sentence is the predicate. Are there any ties? There's always ties, at least one. Was ties with Margaret. If I change to Margaret and her friend, I'd have to change to were. Was also ties with yesterday. It's the past. If I change to every day, I say Margaret is busy. Okay, here's what I got. And I don't have any verb forms. I just have the X word. So example number 2 contains 3 ties. False. Example number 2 contains 2 shifters. True. Example number 2 contains a verb form. That's false. There are no verbs in this second example. Question 15. Example number 2 contains an X word. Yes, definitely. Was is the X word. Let's take a look at example number 3 before we do anything with it. Jose was taken to a movie for his birthday. For his birthday, Jose was taken to a movie. There's an end shifter. The X word is was. Was Jose taken to a movie? Jose is the subject. Everything from the subject to the end of the sentence or the end shifter is the predicate. And now let's look at our ties. Was ties with the subject Jose. Was ties with the past. X words always tie with time. And was ties with taken. Taken is the DTN form. And it shows us when we have was or am or is or are or were tying with the DTN form, this sentence is called a passive sentence. Something happens to the subject. In this case, Jose was taken. His friends took Jose. So now let's answer some questions. Okay. Example number 3 contains 3 ties. Exactly. True. Example number 3 contains 2 shifters. False. Example number 3 can be changed to a yes or no question. Definitely. All sentences have 3 forms. Jose was taken, Jose was not taken, was Jose taken. Question 19. Example number 3 contains the DTN form. Absolutely. There it is. True. Question number 20. Example 3 ties to the present. That's false. The X word was ties with the past. Question 21. Example 3 contains 1 X word place filled and 1 X word place empty. Exactly. The first X word place where we make the question is empty, but the second X word place is where we do have was. It's filled. So the answer is true. Question 22. Certain shifters cannot move from the end of a sentence to the front. Now this is almost like a trick question. The answer is false, because the definition of a shifter is it's a word or group of words that can move from the end to the front or front to the end and not change the meaning. So if we say something's a shifter, we say it's a shifter because it can move, always. So number 22 is false. Number 23. Jeff has a TV in his kitchen. Okay. In his kitchen is the shifter. In his kitchen, Jeff has a TV. I don't see the X word, and this is a good time to say has looks like an X word, but if we only have has in a sentence alone, we know it's not it's an X word. We know it's a verb. Now Jeff is the subject. The X word is does. Does Jeff have a TV? Jeff doesn't have a TV. Everything left between is the predicate. Has ties with Jeff. Has ties with the present. I wrote that pretty good. So now we're ready to continue. Example 4 contains 2 ties. Yes. Subject, verb, verb in time. True. Example 4 does not contain a shifter. False. Example 4 contains the S form of the verb. Absolutely true. That's the S form. I keep forgetting to write down. This is the S form. Exactly. Whoop, let's come back here, Jeff. Okay, and number 26. Example 4 contains an X word. False. Example 4 ties with the present. True. The S form ties with the present. Example 4 can be changed to a negative sentence without adding an X word. Definitely false. If I want to make it negative, I have to say Jeff does not have a TV. Example 4 can be changed to a yes or no question without adding an X word. False. It's a verb. We have to use an X word to make negative. We have to use an X word to make a yes or no question. Does Jeff have a TV? We can't say, has Jeff a TV? It just doesn't sound like American English. Okay, so that's the end of that quiz. Let's just double check. I'll submit the quiz for grading. And did I do good? 29 points. Oh, 29 out of 29. Perfect. Okay, so that's our review for quiz number 2. If you have any questions, post them on our discussion board. Ask another person to talk about it with you. I hope everything's going well. You can always go back. You can always review the videos, the answer keys. And we'll take a look at week 3 is actually a review week, so it's going to be an easy week for us. We're just going to take a look at these things that we've looked at here, practice them a little more before we go on to week 4, which is going to introduce some new topics for us. I hope things are going well. Why don't you let me know on the discussion board what your reactions are, what your impressions are, and how you're feeling about this class.